James Brayshaw and Billy Brownless. This is Triple M's Rush Hour.
Wrapping up the weekend of footy.
Get Purple in here and discuss footy.
This is Damo's recovery session.
All right, we don't normally start when Damo comes in with audio fat, but we're going to make an exception today.
Okay.
Hit it, please, Rabbit.
Essendon are certainties in this game.
Purple. Purple. What the hell is that?
I was sitting pretty at half time, Jim.
Could it have been and now I'm saying this as a North Melbourne supporter, by the way. Yeah. Could it have been a worse weekend for Essendon? Firstly, they get run down by their arch rival after leading by 6 goals at half time. Then Orazio Fantasia goes bananas.
The only good thing for them was that Joe Danaher had a bad start to his new career as a Brisbane Lion. But no, look, that was an extraordinary game of footy, wasn't it? We'll touch on it in a moment. There's a good and bad to come out of that. But we usually start here on a Monday, don't we, with the news? And I think there's still none bigger, Bill, even as we speak at this time of Monday with Paddy Dangerfield going to the Tribunal tomorrow night.
What happens?
Tomorrow night.
I feel, just the way it works, Jim, that they'll be able to, in some way, through his lawyers, work it back to a 2-week ban. And I... Look, we've all got an opinion.
You're taking that.
I reckon you're taking
Geelong,
that. I sort of take the view 3 might be too many for what it's worth, and one's not enough. Do you see
I'm taking 2. Well, it's a head clash. Yep. So that's what separates it from, leaving the ground and actually picking someone off in the old Byron Pickett sort of style. It wasn't that. He elected to bump, and it was a head clash. The player got knocked out.
But they have changed the rule there, haven't they? It's not accidental anymore.
Well, it shouldn't be, should it, Bill? Because the price to pay for Kelly is immense. And look, I reckon sometimes these situations, Jim and Bill, get sidetracked by the argument that the bump's about to come out of the game. No, there's no one saying you can't bump. All they're saying is don't bump and make contact with any form of your body to the head of the other person. So bump low, or in Dangerfield's case, he probably should have been going in for a tackle. But again, in the spur of the moment,
it was late. You know what? He stuffed something up just before. I reckon he spun around and he's gone. He got a bit angry, but you got no protection as a kicker there, have you?
None
at all. Because you're open, you're kicking.
Yep.
So it's a difficult one.
I think 2 is fair.
Yeah. He's got a hard body, hasn't he, Danger? I mean, again, accidental with what he did to Floston last year. And
he'll miss Brisbane and Hawthorn, and so will JC down there, the big recruit. Jeremy Cameron.
He might miss 3
are in
or
a bit of
4.
a danger game this Friday, isn't it already?
Both need to win. Brisbane, of course, getting shocked by the Swans. Speaking of which, Buddy Franklin.
Yeah, big news. He got through a pretty strenuous fitness match simulation / practice match on the weekend. It's significant. He'll come into the team to play Adelaide Crows on Saturday now. John Longmire's already spoken today saying that that's their intent right now. So he's on record saying that. His first game since the last game of 2019, which was his 300th. He'd missed the previous, I think, 7 to that. So it's been a really interrupted time for him. All of last year he was absent. Starts this year not in the team. But I think it's a massive plus for them, given what they did on the weekend against the Brisbane Lions and how they were able to blood in his first game of footy a kid called Logan McDonald.
Don't mention him to me.
Yeah, and you're saying that because he went at number 4 or 3 in the draft,
Jim?
And North had
Jim,
a choice to get him.
Yeah, why didn't North pick him, Jim?
And
Jim,
I can't speak about it.
Why?
Well, because I only had 15 blokes from the West in October last year. Only 15 different people rang me.
You talked about this in the lead up to the draft.
They said to me, Purple, under no circumstances pass on this kid, Logan McDonald. 15 different blokes, including people that play in the waffle.
And?
Don't pass on him.
What happened?
He is a jet. He's ready-made. So I did pass that on to the club I'm a long-term associate of. And I said, I keep hearing, do not pass on this kid. And then the draft came up. No, we're taking a midfielder. I started crying before the draft. Then I've just watched it on the weekend, and he's just opened up with 3.
Take some doing to kick 3
Looked
in your
like
first game.
he'd played 150 games.
Looked at home.
So did Errol. Funny name, but...
Errol Golden.
How many Errols have played?
No, well done to the Swans, by the way. Bloody good performance. We're going to get onto the goods.
You know, Buddy needs 56 more goals for 1,000.
He deserves 1,000.
He does.
He's been that good a player.
So the countdown will be on, won't it?
And he passed Lordo relatively recently too on that list.
Lordo doesn't talk about that.
Matty Rowell?
Yeah, again, as we speak, the Suns are yet to publicly reveal what damage he has done to a knee. It's a left knee. It's It's going to be extensive, Jim. It's just a matter of how extensive is the best we can report it at this point as we speak, because they're travelling back and haven't yet got the proper scans that they want to get done once he touches down.
I feel for him and Alex Pearce, by the way, who's missed a ridiculous amount of footy for Freo and he's now going to have
more than 2 years for him, wasn't it? Or about 2 years for him. So
extended sideline. Lots of other stuff to discuss news-wise before we get to the goods. The holding the ball decision, St Kilda and GWS. That is as ludicrous a piece of officialing as
you didn't like it?
Well, you've got to actually tackle someone for them to be holding the ball, don't you?
Did he just drop the ball, though, in that regard, or not?
But that's...
They got bumped.
You actually have to be tackled, don't you? Unless they've changed the rules.
No, you've got to be tackled.
I don't have a problem with it, provided that becomes the norm, but we know it won't. We know that
that's not the rule.
Yeah.
That's my problem with it, is that the rule is you have to be tackled, as I understand it, to be a judge to be holding the ball. Right. He was bumped and the ball fell to ground. We'll play on. I'm not saying it cost him the game, because it was in,
Well, if you compare that with what we saw with Jack Silvani when he chased down his opponent and wrenched him to the ground, ball was just and held him, ball just spilled loose and nothing.
Mate. Yeah, what about the medical sub? We all happy with that after one weekend?
Yeah, look, it will die down as a story. Some clubs chose not to use it, Bill. I think 8 out of the 18 were used. Right. Some, I think twice were used prior to a concussion or a head hit happening, like with North Melbourne with Curtis Taylor.
Yep.
He was subbed out. He was out, but just prior to that, I think they'd made their sub movement.
So what about Clarko's reaction? I thought that was funny.
Oh, yes.
With Connor Downey being the
new sponsor.
the debutant in inverted commas, not getting a kick in his first game and then being asked about it and referring to the club sponsor about KFC.
Anyone say KFC? I don't mind that.
Do you like that?
Well, humorous.
It brings in this club sponsor too.
It does.
Yeah.
So he's achieved it both ways. All right, so we've got, what are we... a couple of minutes, so the goods will spill out over to the next segment. But who'd you like?
I thought it's hard to go past St Kilda and what they did against GWS on a bog track. They were 11 points down halfway through the last quarter, Bill, when Hemmelberg missed a goal he should have kicked.
Yep.
That would have put them 16 points up, the Giants. That was their opportunity missed. And then they just ground it out. And they had 8 players out of what could be their best 22. Well, now, whether all those 8 get into that best 22.
Well, here they are, right?
Yep.
Marshall.
Absolutely.
King.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ryder.
Yep.
Patton.
Yep. Absolutely. Don't shake your head there. Yeah, well, Geary's the captain still, so yep.
Hanbury.
I say yes because he was crucial in their finals win last year. That we don't know, do we? Because he hasn't played yet. And Crouch, you'd say yes. So yeah,
that is a great win.
It's a good win. It's a really good win. And they look, to win a final last year against a good team in the Bulldogs, to then back it up this year, an away win against the odds this year, I think it really sets them up. They should get King back for this round 2 game, so he will come back. And there's still an unknown about Ryder and as to how long Marshall's going to be away. But look, I reckon they can just draw on that. The other big win we touched on a moment ago, Jim, was the Sydney Swans over the Brisbane Lions, and just as you said, Bill, the 3 debutants who all contributed. 2 of them kicked 3 goals. There are other kids there who we didn't know much about, Winks and who played well.
A couple of what do you call them? Academy kids, which Ed's been banging on for a long time, and now we're starting to see how good they are, isn't it?
All right. And I know you've been a big rap for Heaney, Jim, for a long time.
Adelaide have got to get a mention.
We'll give Adelaide a mention too. Yeah, Heaney and Mills. This may finally be the time they come. They've both been around for a long time now. In a footy sense, 2015 it was for Heaney debut, 16 for Mills. I reckon they're right to go.
I agree,
and I reckon that team is potentially
he's on ball purple. That's 4. What he is, Isaac Heaney. Don't play him anywhere else.
And Mills.
Get him around the footy.
And they put Mills in there too.
Better.
Guess what?
He's
you're going to
get better and better.
The better sides this year are going to have a lot of midfielders.
That's it, Fat.
All right, got to have a lot of midfielders, good midfielders.
A break. We'll get to Adelaide next.
It's the Rush Hour, Triple M. James Brayshaw, Billy Brownless and Damien Barrett is in the studio for the Rush Hour to chat footy.
He is indeed. I want to talk about newspapers.
Ooh.
Who writes the headlines in newspapers?
The sub-editors write the headlines, Bill.
Righto. Do the sub-editors and the actual writers get on?
No.
Oh, right. Because
I shouldn't say that. No, as a rule they do, but there is a line, Jim and Bill. The writing journalists, as the reporters would say, they have issues with the subs because they often feel they put mistakes into their copy but never take the mistakes that are naturally in there. So.
Well, the headline in the Herald Sun over the weekend, the Pies fought Treloar and Treloar won.
How good's that?
Which is good.
I like it.
I fought Treloar,
Oh, well, but that's very good.
That's
I
very,
thought.
very good.
Then I'm reading Herald Sun today. Paddy whacked, which is Paddy, of course.
Yep.
Saints slay Giants in Thriller.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Wet and Wild. Mate, they've got a new bloke in there. And he's actually bump steer, as in bum steer. Mate, he's actually quite good. I think they've got a new headline writer, Jim.
Headlines on stories for
Reading
a
headlines
1,000
out of the
years.
paper.
I'm reading headline stories.
What's that one say?
Excess. Not
Excess.
Oh.
You can always go one too many.
Damo, you knew I'd stuff that up.
Yeah, I did.
Silly four-eyed.
Hey, Adelaide, well done against Fats Mob.
Again, just to bring some energy, it can actually cover some other
Kids.
holes, can't it? They got to a point where they actually believed they could win, and then some things went their way when the surge, and it was always going to be an
Umpiring.
inevitable surge back, wasn't
Yes.
it, from Geelong? It came, but they weathered it, and they had some injuries, they had some adversity, but gee, it was an impressive win, and you just don't know what it can do. That can fast track a development of a team by half a year, maybe even more.
The kids, weren't they? They were tackling 3-on-1 and
Yes.
things like that. And what I did like, at least they come back, the Cats. You always know they're going to come back.
Yeah.
And nearly got there. And just, what were the free kicks? 31-15.
Isn't it
Wow.
He's already round one talking free
That
kick.
little man had a bad night.
Hey, speaking of the goods, for me, Purple, so many of what I call the Flat Earth Society, people who actually prefer us to still be riding penny farthings and ploughing fields with a bloody horse and cart, said don't fiddle with the rules, leave the
Yes,
game as it is. All this garbage we hear every year from these clowns.
Yep.
They've brought in a couple of alterations to the rules and the game is so much better for it. Well done.
It might be the greatest rule introduction in the history of rule changes.
Yeah. And if you listen to these half-wits, we wouldn't change any rules
Yep.
and the game would be like it was last year,
We'd still
close
be
to
having-
unwatchable.
We'd still be having 12 teams in a suburban sense in Melbourne playing
That's
at
it.
2:10 on
How
a Saturday
good was
afternoon,
that?
which would be good too, by the way, Bill.
So on
Well
the
done to
weekend.
Hock and his team.
Yeah,
They've
well
done-
done, Stephen
I like
Hocking.
it. Yep.
Is he the man
Yeah,
with
he's the man.
credit?
He's
Because
the
no
man.
one was
Yep.
putting up their hand for a minute, but now old Hock's walking around. Oh, that's me. Good on you, Steve. But on the weekend, Sydney kicked 9 goals in a quarter.
Yes.
Also, Essendon kicked 8.
Yep.
Hawthorn kicked 8.
Yes.
And Port kicked 8.
Kicked
Eight
eight.
as
It's a
well.
lot of goals
Yeah.
in a quarter.
But while we're on the goods, Western Bulldogs, that was a very impressive performance
midfielders.
against the Pies, wasn't it, on Friday night? I know it's going back a little bit, but it was done in a manner which suggested that they are just on the right track with what they've brought into the team. And Martin coming in along with Treloar, but the Martin acquisition, once he got his body right again back to 2019 and pre-2019 levels, it was always going to work. It's worked in round one, and I can't see why it won't work for the remainder of the year, despite him being 34 at some stage of this year.
You know, he's fantastic. But you know what you love about Bevo? He makes them earn their spot. Johannesson not playing.
that's it.
Even their first pick, Ugle Hayden.
Yeah.
Yep, Jamara.
See, not playing him. Mate, you got to go back and work a bit harder.
Yeah.
Oh, Bevo, he makes them earn their spot. Well done.
No, it's good. And a quick one to Melbourne too, but I thought what they did against the Dockers, they had to do it, but they did do it, and they did it on the back of some good leadership from Jakey Lever and Stephen May down back.
Oh, frothies.
Very good, very good. Right, the other side of the equation, please, Purple.
Yeah, Essendon was a bad loss. So, as you touched on, Bill, they kicked 8 goals in that second quarter to be the certainty that I thought they were going to be, Bill. 8 goals later in the third quarter to Hawthorn, it put them back. And that can set Hawthorn up. It can set Essendon back badly. Obviously, there's a chance to respond for them on this particular weekend, but their system broke down and they weren't able to arrest the run on it. That happens, and people can easily say, why can't you stop a momentum flow? But they weren't able to. It was not a good start for them at all. Worried about Collingwood, Jim. It's, obviously they've lost some quality personnel, and we've debated that all since the end of last season. We don't need to back over that, but ultimately the same problems that they had even with those 3 players that have been moved out were apparent again on the weekend, and there's no sizzle about them, is there? There's nothing.
Forward of the
change.
ball is their problem. I think they actually defend really well.
Yep.
But once they get it forward to centre, they've got all sorts of problems. If Big Mace doesn't clunk it,
Yeah.
I mean, Myercheck's a decent footballer, but he's in a good side, he's your third banana, isn't he? And does a good job of being a third banana, but he's not going to kick you 7 or 8.
No.
You know? So that's I look at them, and that's where I think Nathan Buckley's got his biggest concern. How are they going to kick enough goals to win enough games?
And you love what Darcy Moore did in that particular game, and he's an All-Australian from last year.
Can you
and now
play him for it?
No, not the way I think he wants to approach his
Don't
footy.
say no. Let's have a think about it. Let's have a chat.
Well, they'd have more.
Because-
I reckon they'd have more problems if they took him away from where
No,
he was.
because their backline's okay. We spoke about that. But
Because
they need
he's there.
someone. Yes, they need someone up forward.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to. rob Peter to pay Paul.
Oh, he got there.
He nearly
got
stuffed it
there.
up.
Hey, that performance, Purple, that was, and this is a big statement, that was Scarlett-esque.
And for you to say that, given you were in on the Scarlet Secret long before a few of us were.
That was as unbelievable a performance from a big key defender as I've seen since Matty Scarlett
Well,
played his
you
footy.
heard Luke Beveridge,
When
didn't
the-
you?
yeah,
and
opposition
Caleb
coach
Daniel
said,
on the Saturday rub say that they both thought he was clearly the best person,
it was
or certainly
unbelievable.
Beveridge did anyway.
No,
So
well done.
Yeah, and that's not taking too much away from the man who got the official medal in Bailey Smith, who was unbelievably good in the continuation of his
What else didn't
already
you
good
like,
career.
Purple?
I think there's troubles for GWS in a significant way. Again, they've lost key personnel. Their first offering in the new year without that key personnel was more of the same grinding effort, and they had St Kilda at their mercy at one stage of that last quarter, particularly with that Himmelberg shot bill. Again, I don't want to put it all onto Himmelberg because he played okay, I thought, but in those conditions. But that kick, it left them 11 points up. They should have been 16, half a quarter to go. In those slop conditions, it would have been probably enough to, I think, to get over the line. And before we do finish up, Bill, your boys, are they too old? Are they too slow? Geelong.
Oh, it's round 1, Damien. Let's just have a look after round 5. We'll revisit.
I agree with that. I actually do agree with that. We often are guilty of making sweeping statements.
Well, you are, yes.
No, I'm asking a question. On what we saw on the weekend, I think the question should be asked. And I think if they
after
don't ask it
round 1.
internally...
So you write one bad article. Do I come up to you and say that's a shit article?
If you like the headline on it...
Hey, Fat, we'll be watching closely down at GMHBA, though, this weekend.
Well, there's another one. Tom McDonald and the headline, Tommy Gun firing. He's
discovered
Thank
headlines on
God he
articles, Jim.
finally realised that there are headlines in a newspaper.
When did this happen, Bill?
Hey, guess what? I tell you what, the ruckman might be just going away. Not one ruckman stood out over the weekend. Give me one ruckman that played really
Steph
well.
Martin.
Steph Martin, for starters.
He was okay.
No.
Actually, he was good. He's their best.
Yes.
Give me any other.
Rolly O'Brien was...
No,
pretty-
he wasn't.
Wasn't he?
No, I
it
just think
was
they
solid.
might struggle in these new conditions.
Who suggested this to
I
you?
heard it
Someone
somewhere.
wouldn't have made that up yourself. Purple, great
I
seeing
think,
you, mate. Thanks for dropping by.
Damo's recovery session.
Plenty more still to come on the Russia, including what stories are trending unusual.